Hey friends, welcome back to Find the Joy with Jen. If this is your first time here, I'm so glad you found this space. I created this podcast to walk alongside faithful men and women who are navigating the heartbreak of divorce with grace, courage, and yes, even joy. Today's episode is one that I have been wanting to talk about for a while. It's about a phrase that sneaks into many of our thoughts, especially after things fall apart in divorce. It's the phrase, I should have seen it coming. Have you said it before? Have you whispered it to yourself in bed late at night or cried it to a friend in disbelief? Or maybe even screamed it at the top of your lungs in your car when the grief was just too heavy to bear? It is such a tempting thought because it gives us something to hold on to when everything feels out of control. But here's the thing, that thought feels like the truth, yet it is laced with shame and it is not the truth. Together, we will look at where this belief comes from, what it cost us, and how faith offers us a much better lens. But first, if you have ever told yourself, I should have seen it coming, this episode is for you. Hit that subscribe button because we don't do shame here, just grace, growth, and a little gospel truth. First, let's be honest. Did you see it coming? Some of you listening may say, nope, I didn't see it at all. Others are like, I did see it coming, but I ignored it. And some of you, this is where I fall, are probably saying, I saw some red flags, but I wanted to believe it would get better. I prayed and I hoped and I stayed. Let me just say, all of that is okay. Whether you were blindsided or you slowly watch things unravel, your experience is valid. You are not weak for not knowing. You are not foolish for hoping. You were in love, you had faith, and you stayed loyal. All wonderful, beautiful qualities. Faith does not mean you will see everything. One of the truths I had to learn in my own healing journey is that faith does not always come with foresight. Let me just say that again for anyone who's been beating themselves up with this thought. Faith does not always come with foresight. We worship a God who reveals things line upon line, precept upon precept. Sometimes we're simply not shown the full picture until we're ready, until it's time to act. And that does not mean we missed a prompting from the Holy Ghost. It might actually mean we were walking forward with the exact light we were supposed to have at that moment. God does not always prevent heartbreak, but He always provides a path to healing for us. So if you're wondering, why didn't I see the warning signs? Maybe it's because God wasn't trying to show you the end of the road yet. Maybe He was just helping you become the kind of person who could handle it when it came. The problem with the thought, I should have seen it coming. Telling yourself, I should have known, feels like responsibility, but it's really regret in disguise. And here's why that's dangerous. It erodes your ability to trust yourself. That internal voice of shame that says, I should have seen it coming is not from the Lord. The Lord does not work in guilt trips and should haves. He works in clarity, compassion, and revelation. So let's break this down together. Sometimes we don't see things coming, and that's not a flaw. It is a function of love. You were showing up in hope and faith and trust. You believed the best. You extended grace and forgave, sometimes over and over and over. You gave your whole heart. And you know what? That's not something you should regret. That is something to honor. That is a beautiful way to live, my friend, even if the other person didn't treat that gift with the care that it deserved. When you keep replaying the past, trying to spot what you missed, you start believing you are incapable of discernment. You stop trusting your own judgment. And worse, you start doubting your ability to hear God's voice. That is not what He wants for you. He is not the author of confusion. He doesn't want you living with this backward facing shame. He wants you living forward facing in faith. Let's talk about the different categories here. Category one, you didn't see it coming at all. Maybe you were caught completely off guard. One day everything felt totally normal, and the next it was over. This is much more common than people think, and it doesn't mean you were naive. It means you were all in. And you know what? That is beautiful and exactly how you should be. Let me give you an example. One woman in my Faith-Filled Divorce Coaching program shared that just 1 week before her husband asked for a divorce, they were planning their family vacation. They had booked a cabin, talked about the food they were going to bring and the snacks to get. They coordinated their schedules, and then boom, he sat her down and said he was done. No fight, no warning, no buildup, just done. And he left the next day. She was in complete shock. And the first thing that she said to me was, "How did I not see this coming?" But as we talked, she realized something important. There were hard seasons for sure, but there were also recent good ones. Her confusion did not mean she was broken. It meant that she was loving and trusting in real time. She was present in their relationship. And just because someone else was secretly pulling away doesn't mean she missed the signs. It means they weren't being honest. And that is not her failure. That is their choice. If this is you, I want you to be especially mindful of the story that you are telling yourself. If it is something like, "I was so stupid," or "How could I miss this?" or "What is wrong with me?" I want you to flip those thoughts to these. "I was brave enough to love without holding back. I gave someone the benefit of the doubt, and that shows in my heart. I trusted." That's not a flaw. That is Christ-like. One of my clients described her divorce was like being pushed off a cliff. She said it felt like she had no warning. But the truth is, grief can feel like that, especially when we're not prepared. And when we're in that free fall, we will cling to any narrative, even one that hurts us. So if you're in this category, be extra careful with the story that you're choosing to believe. Category number two, you saw it coming and you ignored it. This one stings because we all know in hindsight, we can look back and see signs, right, that we missed. Then we question, why didn't I act sooner? But let's just take a pause here. What were you trying to do at that time? You were trying to preserve your family. You were trying to keep your covenants. You were trying to be faithful. Those are all beautiful, honorable things. Let me share another story from one of my clients. She had been married for over 2 decades, and she told me, looking back, I can't unsee the way he stopped showing up years ago. He was emotionally distant, dismissive, even sarcastic when she brought up their connection or lack of it. And still, she stayed. She held on. She planned date nights and ways for them to connect. She scheduled counseling sessions. She prayed and she fasted and she went to the temple, hoping that things would change. And when it didn't and the marriage ended, she turned all of that disappointment inward. "I should have left earlier," she said. "I should have known it was just going to end like this." But here's the truth that I reminded her. And maybe you need to hear this too. She wasn't weak for staying. She was strong for holding on to hope and giving her marriage every opportunity to succeed. She wasn't naive. She was loyal. That desire to hold your family together, it is not a flaw. It is honoring a covenant that you have made. It is Christ-like love, and you shouldn't apologize for it or have regret for it. I know this is true. If your marriage does ultimately end in divorce and you stayed and you prayed and you fasted and you held on with all of your might, when it does end, you have the confidence in yourself to know, I gave it my all, and nothing else can replace that. So don't turn your obedience and faithfulness and determination to make it work into a weapon against yourself. Instead, ask yourself, what did I learn? How will I handle a similar situation next time? And what signs would I respond to more quickly now? And please don't skip the question. What did I do well? Even if the relationship ended, I guarantee there were at least five wise, loving, brave things that you did. Write them down, speak them out loud, and claim them and remind yourself of them when you need to. Now, category number three, you are now afraid to trust anyone again. Maybe now you see red flags everywhere. Maybe you've sworn off dating or a future relationship entirely. Maybe you're afraid to feel anything for anyone because what if you're wrong again? Friend, I get that. But living guarded is not the same as living protected. Avoiding love doesn't make you safe, it just makes you lonely. Let me give you an example here, too. I worked with a client, let's call her Rachel, who was several years out from her divorce. She had done a lot of healing work, but every time someone new showed interest in her, she would panic. She would replay every red flag that she missed in her previous marriage and assume that any new man must be hiding something, similar red flags. A delayed text reply must mean he's lying. A compliment, probably just manipulating her. Eventually, she admitted, I don't know how to trust anyone ever again. And honestly, I'm scared to even try. So we unpacked all of that together and we came up with this. She wasn't afraid of men. She was afraid of herself, afraid that she would ignore her gut again, afraid that she would choose wrong again, and that she would just end up hurting in the future. But here's what I was able to remind her, and maybe this is what you need to hear today too. You are not the same person that you were before. You are wiser now. You are more attuned. You are more grounded in your values, and you're not starting over from scratch. You're starting over from experience. And yes, it still takes courage. I understand that. You don't have to punish yourself for being hopeful and for loving well. You get to try again, but with time and discernment and gentleness with yourself. God did not give us the spirit of fear. He gave us power, love, and a sound mind. Yes, discernment is important. Yes, wisdom matters. God gave us feelings for a reason, and love is one of the most divine emotions we can experience. And yes, it's risky, and so is anything else that is sacred. I believe the Savior wants us to love fully and not fearfully. And if love brings pain sometimes, it's not because of love itself, it's because loss is painful. But love is the most sacred, Christ-like feeling and emotion that we can experience. And even when it ends, we are still better for having given it. Remember, rejection will not kill you, and neither will disappointment. You've already survived your worst case scenario, and you're still here, friend. You are seeking joy, you are healing, and that means you are stronger than you know. So let's talk about what the gospel teaches us about this. One of the most faith affirming things I learned through my own heartbreak is this: the Lord does not waste any of our experiences. In Romans chapter 8, it says, all things work together for good to them that love God. Not some things, all things, even your broken heart, even your blind spots, even your choice to stay too long or to leave too late. So maybe, just maybe, you didn't see it coming because you were never meant to. You were meant to learn, to grow, to let this become part of your story, not your shame. So let's wrap this up, friends. If you have been telling yourself, I should have seen it coming, I want you to try a new phrase. I saw what I was meant to see, and now I see more. There is so much power in this statement. I showed up with love. I was brave. I was hopeful. And even if it ended, I grew. This is the secret to finding joy, my friends. It's growth progression, and finding the purpose in our pain. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are healing, and you are exactly where God can meet you and guide you forward. And healing does not come through shame or blame. It comes through compassion, curiosity, and faith. Thank you so much for being here with me today, friends. And if this episode spoke to you, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Did you see it coming or not? And what are you learning about yourself through your journey? I would love to hear your story. And if you're ready to stop replaying your past and claim your future, join us in my Faithful Divorce Coaching Program, and I will walk with you every step of the way. You will get real tools, gospel-centered coaching, and the kind of community that reminds you you are not alone. Until next time, remember, healing happens when we stop blaming ourselves and start believing that God can still do something beautiful with your life and in your future. Thank you so much for being here with me today. You are doing hard, brave things, and I am cheering you on every step of the way. Keep seeking joy in your life. You have got this. I am sending you all my love. Bye, friends.